How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday, January 23rd, and this is the video for today. So as always, we are going to go over what the market is doing. We are going to go over the picks from the previous video and videos, and then we're going to give a pick for today. So let's start with the market, and we will start with a longer term time frame. So as you can see here, let's start all the way back in October. Super strong rally, very little pullbacks, digested some of the gains, right, from halfway December to halfway of January. This was the biggest pullback we got. Tested this horizontal breakout level, hit it again, came back, higher low, double bottom, and we managed to break out here on the 19th through the all-time high and make a new all-time high in SPY. And this is what that day looked like. Broke through here. Here's the all-time high. Hit that, and then just steadily grinded up higher. Held all the gains to the end of the day. So, new breakout here. The next day we gapped up and we tested this breakout level. You can see how choppy the action is here relative to what we saw over here, right? Look at this nice, consistent price action and buying, steady buying from here all the way to here. Super nice chunk of steady buying. If you zoom out to the other candles here, you can see how steady this will look on some higher time frames, right? Very little retracement, very little pause versus what we're seeing now, which is a compression over here. So yesterday, gap up, complete garbage day. We didn't do anything, right? We're just chopping in this lower bound of this range. Today, pretty similar story, and you could tell that from the first hour of trading. So what are the tells? First, we opened pretty flat here. We had a minor gap up, but nothing major at all. Very much bound in this prior range right here. If I were to draw a line, right here is the top of the range, and here is the bottom of the range. So we are in this range bound structure, and you can see how haywire LRSI is getting, how low the volume is. We are just working off some of the gains that we got from that previous rally. So how did I know that today was going to be a pretty garbage day? Well, like I said before, flat open, choppy candles here, lots of tails and wicks. LRSI going down, kind of staying down over here, but 1OP is not is in the negative territory, not producing any movement. Volume is super low in the open. Nothing is going on. So price action volume is very poor. It's pretty low probability conditions. On the market component side, tech was decently strong. There were some pockets of strength in semis and in comms, but we were dragged down a little bit today by healthcare. And retail. Retail was also quite weak. So there are some pockets of strengths and weakness. There tend to be more stocks on the heavy buy list and the heavy sell list. Not a lot of flight to safety stocks up except gold. So on the market component basis, I thought, okay, this is a little mildly bullish right now. In terms of market context, still also bullish because we're holding this level of the breakout. We didn't poke above it and then immediately get slapped down. So I don't think the bottom's going to fall out. But we need to see some move higher soonish, right? We want to break out of this compression, I'd say either today or tomorrow, to get that next leg higher. And we know that shorts, people who are short here, expecting this move down, are probably covering around this level. So when the profit taking subsides and we get the next move higher, any people trying to pick a top are going to be squeezed out. Bullish specs are going to pile in. People in the sidelines, like myself right now, are also going to pile in on the market. So shorter term, we are neutral right now, but mildly bullish. I don't want to be shorting this into the bottom end of this range, but I also don't feel comfortable going long because we haven't seen any confirmation that the market's going to move up. We're just sort of holding this level and bouncing between this narrowly defined channel right here. So for market confidence on the long term is bullish, but the short term is neutral. What do? Well, the first thing is your longer term positions are going to be working in your favor, right? So let's go over my put credit spreads. So I have NVIDIA working in my favor, doing very, very well. I also have Airbnb put credit spread also working very well. And I have the Zoom put credit spread also working very well. So as the time goes on, if the market does nothing and the stock is holding on, that's fine with me, right? I don't have to be insanely right on Zoom. I just can't be horribly wrong on Zoom. So these will be working in your favor because I have time decay on my side. Now, on the shorter term swings, we are waiting for the market to make a move in our direction, right? So let's look at Amgen, for example. It's holding the gains. It's finally trying to make a move to the upside here. Any little market push, and I believe we break through this high plus trend line. It is gaining some relative strength over here. Now, the other thing we have to think of over here are how do we want to play it in a shorter term time frame. If you are a pro, there are pockets of day trading opportunities. You can find really strong stocks, really weak stocks, right? So I'll give an example here. One really weak stock today was MMM. You can see post earnings breakout through all of this technical technical support that's now resistance. You can see here how it's completely ignorant of the market, super heavy volume, consistent price action. So this is one that I could short today. I've tended not to short as much because it hasn't worked a lot in my favor. But if you only day trade on the short side, there are pockets of opportunity, but you need the highest quality D1 chart, highest quality M5 chart. Everything has to be working in your favor because you are against the longer term market trend, and the current market trend is neutral. You're not going to get any headwind, but you're not going to get a lot of tailwind either. And what you are risking, well, as what we saw over here, when we are in these choppy periods, you're risking this move here, right? You have to be able to, you need to be aware of when the market finds support and starts inching higher. You got to be careful, right? You cannot get stuck in these shorts and then get squeezed out, right? And you spend all your time covering those shorts instead of focusing on the long side and trying to get great picks over there. So I am not personally going to go on the long side, but you can. Let's look at some day trading longs over here. And there's a couple with some really nice price action. I know, yeah. So Mondel's is not bad. You can see testing here, steadily moving up higher. So Mondel's is pretty decent. There's a lot more on this list than was previously over here. If I look at some of my tags, Verizon is really nice. You can see it's big move. There's not a ton of upside, but it is kind of steadily grinding higher. Yep, and I believe that was an earnings move. FTNT. So this was pretty nice. It wrapped up, held the gains here, but then looks like it got smacked down as it tried to get a little bit higher. So a couple of gap ups that weren't super great. And ABBV was one that we were watching today. So you can see here how it has been slowly pushing higher and higher, hugging its 8 EMA and breaking out above these high minus trend lines and this high plus trend line coming back from over here. So this is a pretty crucial point for ABBV, this 166.20 level, which it is Yeah, kind of testing here right now. So you can see this 166.20 level. If I were to put some support resistance right here, you can see how it's trying to break through it right now. So it's confirming that level. You can see it also has this level right here. So this is a pretty major level for a BBV. If we can break through, it could be a great long, probably up to somewhere over here, which would be somewhere around the 168, 170, or 168, 167 level. So there is some room to that. It's a nice steady grinder higher. So what would be my pick of the day? Well, before we do that, let's look at what we picked previous videos. So I talked about Guild yesterday and how we had some bearish news that kind of tanked the stock. So what I did is I took half profits at Guild at the end of the day because of the technical breakdown. But my thinking is, okay, well, first of all, it's not the weakest stock. We've established a base. We tried to break through this level over here, and there was some unfortunate timing with the news. We are very overextended on the 8 EMA. So there is a chance that Guild will try to make a move back, challenge this gap over here, and if it gets rejected, then I just take the smaller L. So I still think that Guild is going to be an L, but what I'm looking for here is to take a better loss, right? So I took the loss over here, 78.43. Now if I took the loss over here, I just saved $1 on half my shares, right? So I saved money. So, you know, I'm not panicking on this loser. I'm just looking for a better possible entry based on the technical analysis. Now, if Guild had gapped down over here through this, that's a risk I was willing to take, and I would have just taken the L at that point. It would have just been way too weak. And we've had a clear shorting opportunity through this low minus trend line. But we didn't get that. So if we claw back into the gap, I might be able to take a better loss on Guild here at the 80. If I can get a loss at this high right here at 80.75, I'll be very happy with that. All right. Next one over here was ELF. ELF is in purgatory right now. You can see how it pushed up higher, tested this low. Now it's kind of flat, just hanging out at this level. Not super bullish, not super bearish. Technically, I do believe it is still valid. However, we know that there is some selling pressure on here. So if I was an ELF, and let's say I went long somewhere here, let's say 164, I look to take profits at 165 at this high plus trend line because that has been providing resistance, especially if you are in options. The time decay is working against you. You should be having some longer term, deep in the money options to prevent you from that. So ELF still in it, still looking, it's not the best. My bullishness is tempered, but remember, our market bias long term is bullish, short term is neutral. ELF on the long term, let's go back to this. ELF on the long term, I'm still bullish, and on the short term, I'm a little bit more bearish. So the trade can still work out, but we have to temper our expectations with regards to what we can get. SNPS. So SNPS was looking pretty nice today. You can see if you had a passive profit target, a couple of ATRs away, you could take profits on the stock. So when I was first looking at it, it was around this 536 level. It's just grinded up higher. So there's a chance for me to take a nice $10, $12 profit. The reason I didn't take the trade was because I was investigating the cause of this drop here on December 22nd, right? We had a long red candle, no earnings. So that had to mean it was news related. Turns out Synopsys was looking to acquire another company. There were talks of buying another company, ANSS. That's the ticker symbol. I don't know what it stands for. But I was like, all right, well, there could be some volatility here given the news information, right? And I don't know how the market will react to an acquisition going through or an acquisition failing. So I think with a stock like that, you want to be more nimble with it. So I think it would be an excellent day trading opportunity if you took it. There was overnight risk. So if you wanted to do an overnight swing, you could, but you have to know that the risk is higher, right? If you consider what happened to Guild, we could get a big move in either direction. So that's kind of what I see in SNPS. So doesn't mean you don't take it or not take it, but you have to be aware of some of these things and investigate what the chart is telling you, right? If you see a big long candle on large volume, something has changed, right? Why are institutions buying or selling the stock? What's causing them, right? They move on their analysis of the stock and the market, right? Something has fundamentally changed in the stock that could impact the bottom line. What is that, right? So you got to find out what that is and be aware of it. So mergers can be very volatile, so I tend to avoid them. Okay. AMGN, we took it here, 310.60-ish. So we're pretty much about break even right now. And we're in an interesting position with AMGN here because my target is here. But if the market does pretty well, I think we could far exceed that target. So what I'm actually going to do over here, because I have stocks, because we have some time before earnings, is I am going to clear this chart order for a few reasons. So one, you can see here, after compressions, AMD tends to make a pretty big move, right? So if we hold this out, we could see a pretty big move, let's say ATR of 5. Look at this high low is about 10. So from 310, there's a chance we can hit to 315 or 317, 320, right? I don't know if that'll happen, but there's a chance. So what would cause AMGN to make that sort of move? Has to have relative strength. We have to have volume and buyers in there. And we have to have a market tailwind. So if I'm bullish on the market in the long term, I'm bullish on AMGN on the long term. Both are D1s. To me, 10 out of 10 right now. Am I bullish on AMGN in the short term? I am decently bullish here. I'm, let's say, 7 out of 10 bullish. It's moving up and it's doing decently, but I'm neutral in the market. So as soon as the market short term gets some sort of tailwind, I think AMGN should be able to push through that high plus trend line. And if I'm wrong, then I just take smaller profits. So that is how I'm thinking about AMGN. All right, so let's find some picks for today. Well, I don't want to take any long shorts over here, or longer term shorts over here. We're at the bottom of this zone. We could break it, but until I see that break, and we have some long red candles that break through this prior high and get back into this range, I will not consider taking. I will not even look at any shorts, honestly. So let's find a long that is holding up pretty well. So I've looked at a couple of longs over here, but I think the best thing to do is a custom search. So I have this scanner right here, which is a template. And what I do is I have some kind of pre-built scans that I usually like to have. So like volatility, average volume, RVol, stock price, no ETFs. So that's what I like to do over here. I'm going to take this volatility down so we get a couple of options. So this gives you a whole list of stocks to choose from. So let's look at a stock that's above the prior day high and above VWAP. All right, so that should limit my list. 34 options already. Not a lot of stocks doing that. Okay, let's look at a stock now that is we need to define a criteria that would help us to find a great stock for today. So I want a stock with some good ADX on the M5. Only 4 options here, so this may be a little bit too restrictive, but let's take a look. Okay, so ADI, not bad here. You can see it formed a base, moving up higher, but we do have some resistance over here. Right, there's definitely some resistance around this level. I don't know, I don't really care where you draw it. Here, somewhere around this area, there is some resistance. So I like this breakout on this bull flag, but I don't know how strong this resistance could be. So what I would do is probably set an alert and see if it can break through this resistance over here, and then I'll feel much more comfortable going long on ADI. So ADI is not bad. Let's take a look at that M5. And this is some pretty nice price action. It's tend to be as a choppy stock as it goes here is pull back, moves up higher, doesn't get too far extended from its 8 EMA. So if you wanted to day trade this, I would try to enter on these moves after the 8 EMA, and you get a much better entry. CEG. All right, CG was looking strong. Looks like it's selling off a little bit. Utility stock over here. You see the D1 isn't super spectacular, so I'm not crazy interested about it. Very choppy stock. It pushes up and then retraces down. Already made a big chunk of the move. Not crazy about CEG. I tend to not typically trade utilities. IRBT I saw earlier. This is bottom fishing. You do not want to go long. You have to be a pro, be able to be consistently profitable, making money on this type of trade. Because it's going to be pulling back to the 8 EMA. There's some major news, and sellers and institutions are looking for good prices to sell over here. Okay, MKC looking nice, but earnings is coming up pretty soon. It's decent on an intraday basis. Really nice, steady grind higher. Would not do anything more than day trade. The daily chart is not great, and the SMA is in close nearby. So you could probably day trade this at best, but really not my favorite chart. I think there are better setups to find. So let's take out the ADX over here. Let's look at relative strength to market and see what we find. Okay, let's see what stocks are on a good trade signal. All right, let's see if there's any stocks that have a strong D1 here. Okay, so only ACAM really fits that signal, which we are in. Fun fact. And let's see what stocks are still on a trade signal over here. Okay, so this gives us a little bit better of a list. Well, we looked at ADI. Let's take a look at CL. CL is nice, but it has earnings. Not the best. You can see it's still in a downward trend. CC still has to get through this high plus trend line. Pretty high minus trend line. Still pretty choppy. Not crazy about it. GFS. D1 is fairly choppy. This wide bullish channel. It's not a bad swing because if you take it in the middle of this channel, you have good upside and you're not far from support. It's okay, but it's not the best. If you take a look at the M5, yeah, you can see it hit some resistance over here is what it looks like, and then pop back up. Not a huge fan of this stock. IRWD over here continues to move higher. A choppy stock, but it kind of is grinding up, has some nice breakout in the healthcare sector. So just you would want to check if there's any news driving this right here. JCI, don't like that chart. Don't like that big drop over here. There's gap resistance right there. Love is a decent breakout, but we have earnings coming up. MDLZ we looked at earlier. Looking good. I'd like it to break above this trend line. T earnings coming up, and we also just had Verizon earnings. Teva is actually a pretty decent breakout over here. I like what I'm seeing in Teva. Looks like pharmaceuticals are doing pretty well. Holding the gains here. Not the best intraday chart, so I don't think you could day trade it. Maybe you could swing trade it. I just, again, see if there's any news driving Teva. There's a lot of volume spiking up over here, so there might be some news driving this stock. All right. And then the final one that we see is Verizon, which I am liking here. I'm really liking this D1 breakout. It's hard to recommend a stock because I don't have a lot of confidence in the market. But I am eventually probably going to go with a BBV if I had to pick a stock here. And here's the conditions. First, the market has to close above this prior day high, or this high from 2 days ago, right? This low. Ideally, I'd want to see the market break out of this compression range at the minimum, okay? So that's what I want to see from the market. Now, from ABBV, I want to see it break through this level here and then retest it. So it would look something like this. Imagine if this was the level here. We break through this level. So we're going to do a little hypothetical example. Assume this is the level. We break through it. We come back for the retest, and then we move higher. We make a higher low and a higher high. So that's what I would like to see in ABBV. If it can do that, then that's a nice entry, and I think you have some room to this upside over here. You can take some profit at that level. So ABBV would probably be my pick of the day under those conditions. So if it can do that, then I would enter the trade. So that is it for today's video. A little bit longer, but I hope you found it helpful. and I will catch you all in the next video.